Welcome to BNEWS Weekly. I'm Phil Gallagher along with BNEWS Director Rich Hosford, BNEWS reporters Tad Stefanak and Robert Paris, Peter Brown with the weather, and Chris Flaherty with the community calendar, and Liz Gillespie with sports. Thank you for joining us. Shawsheen Technical High School has closed and all classes have gone full remote for at least 2 weeks after some administrators were exposed to someone carrying the coronavirus. Superintendent Bradford Jackson said in a letter to parents last Friday they received notification that another individual member of the Shawsheen community has tested positive for COVID-19. This is the fourth positive COVID test involving either a Shawsheen staff member or student this fall, with the first case being announced on October 30th. Jackson said, as they do in any case involving a positive case from either a student or staff member, they followed all Massachusetts Department of Public Health, the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education protocols, and consulted and collaborated with the applicable local boards of health. They have conducted thorough contact tracing in compliance with all these protocols and have identified the student and staff members who are considered to be close contacts. In this case, it was determined that district administrative teams were deemed to be close contacts, including Jackson himself. Jackson said because these essential employees have to quarantine for 14 days, they determined they could not keep the building open at this time. So through at least the end of next week, all students will be 100% remote during that time. In related news, the Burlington Board of Health welcomed Assistant Superintendent of Schools Patrick Larkin to their virtual meeting on Tuesday night for an update on the Burlington school reopening. Board Chair Dr. Ed Weiner noted that the state is in an uptick of COVID-19 cases, but said so far Burlington has done well keeping its numbers in check. He noted that under the state's updated guidelines, Burlington is in the green on the risk assessment map, meaning the danger of spread is on the lower side. Larkin said that in the schools they have seen 1 or 2 cases per week. He added that when they do get a positive test result, they do contact tracing and will sometimes have full classrooms go fully remote for a 2-week period. For example, they discovered a case this week at Francis Wyman and were forced to shut down a few classrooms. Larkin also said that when they get in touch with parents about their child possibly being in close contact with a positive case, they are often grateful for the information, something he credits their cooperation with the Board of Health for making possible. Larkin also noted that the schools do not appear to have had any cases of internal spread among the students or faculty. Every case appears to have come from outside the system and has been identified early. He added that he feels good about the protocols the school department has in place to handle cases of the virus. Finally, members of the board asked about the school protocols around travel during the holidays. Larkin said they will be sending out guidance to all families that if they travel to a high-risk area, they need to get tested after returning to Massachusetts and receive a negative result before returning to the classroom. Also during the Tuesday meeting, the Board of Health voted to request funds to add a new administrator to the department. On Tuesday evening, the board voted 5-0 to put a warrant article before the January town meeting for funding an associate director of public health to work on the day-to-day running of the department and free up the health director for more strategic planning. Board members said that they had held subcommittee meetings with the members of the department and town and school officials and determined the position was necessary. This was highlighted by the response to the COVID-19 pandemic, but they said it is clear the department could use another person even in normal times. Vice Chair David McSweeney said that due to the pandemic and the possibility of the arrival of a vaccine that will have to be administered, he thinks now is the time to add the position. He also said that post-pandemic, they expect an uptick in restaurants opening and further economic development, including new incoming biotech companies that will add to the workload of the department. Other members of the board agreed and said that currently the staff is working long hours. Health Director Susan Luminello said she also agrees that an associate director would be beneficial to the department and allow her to focus on things like an increase in training for possible future health emergencies. They didn't discuss the salary range at Tuesday's meeting, but did say the position will be a full-time, non-union position that will handle much of the day-to-day management in the department, leaving the leadership to the director. On Veterans Day, a Burlington police officer and a veteran and a currently enlisted Burlington native engaged in a fundraising Ruck march to support an organization that assists veterans and Gold Star families. Officer Jake DeSantis, a United States Army veteran, said on a GoFundMe page that he and Second Lieutenant Joe Morgan, a Burlington native, would be conducting a memorial Ruck march in honor of Veterans Day. All donations raised by the drive will go directly to the Massachusetts Fallen Heroes Foundation. According to the organization's website, at Massachusetts Fallen Heroes, we memorialize our fallen and we provide programs and services for our veteran and Gold Star family community. Officer DeSantis said the original plan was for him to ruck, a military term for hiking with full gear and a backpack that often weighs 50 pounds plus, for 14.5 miles from the Burlington Police Department to the Massachusetts Fallen Heroes Memorial in Boston. Morgan was to do the same in Georgia, where he is stationed. However, after far exceeding their initial fundraising goal of $500, they decided to up the ante. The modified route would take him from Tewksbury Police Department to the Burlington Police Department and then on to the Fallen Heroes Memorial in Boston for a total of 22 miles. This distance was in honor of the 22 veterans on an average day that take their own life. As of this taping, the pair had raised over $13,500. We spoke to the pair this afternoon, and we'll have a full interview with them on next week's show. Indian Americans for Burlington have held a Diwali celebration on the town common to connect with fellow residents and share their culture. In the past, this year they are celebrating the Festival of Lights virtually. BNEWS Director Rich Hosford spoke to members of the group about this event and has this look.
For the past 3 years, the group Indian Americans for Burlington has held annual Diwali celebrations on the town common, featuring brightly colored art and costumes, impressive dances, and delicious food. The idea is to help spread Indian traditions to the greater community and allow everyone to celebrate the largest festival in Indian culture. I recently joined 3 members of the group to talk about the tradition and what was different this year. I started by asking why they decided to share their traditions of Diwali with the greater Burlington community.
We wanted to kind of bring the Indian culture in the forefront and celebrate within the town, and also in a way trying to educate what Diwali means and how we celebrate and what's our culture and what are the different arenas within our culture, right? So that's why, like, whether it's food, whether it's cultural program, or whether it is art, and that's why we thought, like, okay, I think Burlington Common is the right place to celebrate with everyone.
It's Indian Americans for Burlington, and as the name implies, our goal was always to involve the greater Burlington community in whatever we do. And this is one of those holidays which is not a religious thing. It is not belong to a particular part of India. And so we thought this would be one way to basically get the greater Burlington community to get to know about the Indian culture.
The name Diwali comes from the Sanskrit word meaning rows of lighted lamps. There are different traditions, but many believe the day celebrates the return of King Rama, an incarnation of Lord Vishu, and symbolizes the spiritual victory of light over darkness, good over evil, and knowledge over ignorance.
That's why the whole country celebrates it with lighting some diyas and candles around and light up the whole house, all the houses, and celebrate. And I think that's the reason why we even did the same thing in the town commons. We're lighting up getting the trees light up and, celebrate by lighting up everything to a way of inviting Lord Rama back home.
This year, due to the pandemic, they were unable to hold Diwali on the town common. So they did what many have done and moved it online and on television.
This year has been different, and we were not able to celebrate in the town common today in person. So what the idea was to bring Diwali closer to everybody, at least via social media, and bring closer to their homes so that they can sit and watch at their comfort, maintaining the social distancing, of course.
Normally, the Diwali celebration features arts, crafts, food, displays of traditional dress, and cultural performances. Well, this year, everyone was responsible for their own food. The rest of the traditions were kept as much as possible.
So what we did was, we kind of converted that whole concept into a virtual concept. So we had the same thing. We definitely didn't have the food, but we had the vendors, we had the arts and cultural program.
Finally, Jeannie says that perhaps in this year, 2020, with the pandemic, the theme of this year's Diwali, friendship, hope, and humanity, is needed more than ever.
Kind of aligns with what in general Diwali means, how and the purpose of why we celebrate. Like, yes, it's a return of king, but at the same time, the return of king also means that our happiness are going to come back, and we're going to have a prosperous new year. And and the king has won, made a symbol of good over evil. So everything ends with a happy ending, right? So that's kind of what the whole theme and Diwali is about.
The virtual Diwali celebration can be found on Indian Americans for Burlington's social media and on BCAT and our social media. From the world of Zoom, I'm BNEWS Director Rich Hossford.
Educators have been hard at work finding and adapting to new and creative ways of using social media platforms for remote learning. One Marshall Simons middle school teacher has fully embraced this challenge, and BNews reporter Tad Stefanak spoke to him for this report. Let's take a look.
In these times untested, schools and education have necessitated a technological takeover, which is being thoroughly embraced by Marshall Simons' 8th grade science teacher, Jordan Marino.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Mr. Marino coming to you live from...
Who's engaging students where they already are, on social media.
Because it's my wheelhouse. I'm naturally interested in doing things that way. It's always kind of been my ace in the pocket.
Hey, everybody!
That's kind of been my approach, is to engage the kids. I take advantage of the fact that these kids are growing up in a world of technology that I didn't have. When you're remote, it all comes down to that screen here, or the screen on their computer. And how do I turn that into something not bland?
All right, here we go. I want you to draw a covalent bond.
I've been working on that. I've been working on that with BCAT, doing the Mr. Marino Science Show. I've been doing that, pushing my YouTube and the Twitter and the Instagram and all of those things that I've learned to use as tools. There'll always be a percentage of any teacher being a cheesy teacher trying to be cool on the internet, no matter what they do. How do you reduce that percentage of cheesiness, or how do you embrace that level of cheesiness? There's some authenticity, because I'm serious. I would like them to like and subscribe, so that when I send out a midweek update, and in the description below is a Google Drive link to the vocabulary,
Including the new vocabulary we've been going over recently.
well, the ones that are literally liking and subscribing, or looking at the video and checking their emails, they have something to win from that. Because guess what? There's a glimpse of tomorrow's vocabulary in that. And if you care enough to look into it, oh my gosh, the next day when I'm talking about solutes and solutions and solvents, those kids who cared enough to look into that in their spare time will have already known those words.
Solvent.
The teaching environment includes a dizzying array of Aspen portals, CK12, aligned curriculum, online textbooks, Google Meet, Google Classroom, an app called BrainPop, and more.
Students have the BrainPop app on their iPad.
Not to mention the schedule.
Today and yesterday, I saw Cohort B, which is a group of kids that come to school on Tuesdays and Thursdays. On Monday and Tuesday, I'm remote teaching Cohort B while they're at home. Where am I? I'm in here with Cohort A. So when Cohort A has a different class, I go find a quiet place somewhere, and I meet Cohort B online. It's a revolving door. It's a revolving door. And on Wednesdays, everyone's remote. And then you have the full remote kids.
Three-dimensional concepts.
Right? There's so many layers to it.
Armed with his custom-built mobile teaching vlogging station, or MTVS as he calls it,
This arm here, which has an external vlogging camera.
Mr. Marino is on the go and getting students and fellow instructors in on the act, using high-tech means
The Element Project.
and some good old analog techniques.
And we draw the appropriate number of electrons.
Mr. Marino makes it look easy, but for himself and teachers everywhere, the struggle is real.
So the stressful part of it is realistic. What's stressful about this? It's different. Well, it's science. How do we find a solution? by being productive. Since this whole thing has kind of started, I've noticed that, I'm getting more Instagram followers, I'm getting more followers on YouTube, there's more engagements, there's more clicks, there's more likes, and I just want to know that what I'm doing, the time I put in the editing room and doing all of these things is helping anyone.
From Marshall Simons Middle School, I'm BNews reporter Tad Stefanak.
Teachers may be adapting to online teaching, but mastering the technology can be difficult for students and their families. In an effort to ease the stress of online learning for both students and parents, Burlington Public Schools is running a series of webinars to facilitate understanding and improve the remote learning experience. The department is offering family technology webinar sessions throughout the school year. These online sessions via Google Meet share how-to guides for families featuring information about BPS technology resources. Library and technology team members are also providing videos featuring foundational apps and support for accessing school technology. These webinars will share sessions from outside presenters relevant to the current learning environment as well. Upcoming discussions through early December include Google Meet, Google Drive, and Google Apps, as well as family technology Q&A sessions. Parents and students can find a link to the full schedule of these webinars on our website at bcattv.org/bnews. The Burlington Council on Aging has created a virtual art show for everyone to enjoy during the pandemic. BNews reporter Robert Paris spoke with the creator of the project and has this report.
The Burlington Council on Aging has recently released the first virtual COA Art Show online. I had a chance to talk with the man behind the magic, David Magliosi.
Burlington Senior Center started an art program maybe 2 years ago. And we meet on Mondays from 1 to 3. And, well, of course, all that fizzled out when the COVID came about. We were planning on having an art show. So I just came up with the idea, why don't we have a virtual art show? So we started collecting paintings from people.
With a variety of paintings in the video, David had some donations from many painters around the Commonwealth.
Marge let us get an instructor, and we got this woman, her name's Amy Size, she's from Andover. So I reached out to some of the other people that used to paint with us, and a couple of them responded and sent me some paintings. And then there's maybe 2 or 3 other people from Burlington that sent in some paintings.
An avid accordionist, David recorded all the music in the video from different musicians.
Well, I picked a lot of mood music. There's a fellow from France named Jean Corti, and I just recently heard some music by him, and I picked one of his tunes off his album called Romance de Louvre. So I start off the movie with that. And then I wanted something in the same vein. So Mir and Sebastian from La La Land, I like that. So I did a piano track, and then I played accordion on top of that. Staying in that mood, I thought of Charlie Chaplin and his smile. So I did a track with a guitar background on that. It's called Smile. And then I ended it with the song from The Secret Garden, which is a real pretty tune.
David is always encouraging people to try painting as a new hobby.
Painting is so calming. It's a great thing to do. And, 2 years ago, I didn't even know I could paint. So now I'm painting, and I wish everyone else would get into this painting. It's really great.
Over a Zoom call with David Magliosi, I'm Robert Paris for BNEWS Weekly.
In the latest edition of Who Works for Burlington, a segment where we speak to town employees not often in the news, we feature BHS Counseling Director Joe Adebato about his work and department. Let's have a look.
This time up is Burlington High School Counseling Director Joe Adebato. Joe started at Burlington High after an internship in Winthrop. He was initially a fill-in, but was soon thereafter hired to a full-time position as counselor in 2002. He has an undergraduate degree in public management due to an early interest in working with town government. However, after an experience with students, he decided to change direction.
Received my bachelor's degree. I coached football for a year. Really liked that, liked working with kids, like that one-on-one. So I decided to pursue the school counseling position, and so I ended up getting a master's in school counseling.
Joe was a counselor through 2007 and took over the department in 2008. He still works with some students in his current position, but has to focus more on administrational tasks.
You know, as a counselor, I was much more interacting with students during my first 5 years. When I took over as the director, I have a very small caseload of students that I still interact with. However, I also supervise 5 school counselors, a school adjustment counselor, and a school social worker. So a lot of my position is a supervisory role of those folks. And in addition to that, I handle the master schedule at the high school, so I'll create the high school schedule. I interact with department heads on a very consistent basis in terms of the schedule and other kind of overarching school policy type things. So I also will coordinate the MCAS test and PSAT, SAT, and I do a lot of administrative things with our scholarship program as well.
Joe said the role of counselors have changed since he first started, when they were seen mostly as guiding students through the college selection and application process. While they still do that, they focus much more on the emotional needs of students.
The situations that arise with students can be quite complex, and specifically like social emotional issues that come up. And I think that has certainly increased over the years. You know, we've increased our support staff. We have a standalone social emotional program at the high school. On staff here, we have a school adjustment counselor. The trainings that our counselors get are more in line with social emotional now. So we do still, so I think when people hear school counselor, they think more of the academic piece. But I see the academic piece happening just as much, if not even a little less, than the social emotional piece. And we've worked hard to try to change with the times and get the right training to work with students.
So what makes a successful 4-year high school career for students in the eyes of their counselors? Joe said it depends on the student.
Success to one student could be straight A's, whereas success to another student could be coming into the building and just maintaining their mental health. So there's different levels of success or different ideas on success, but a successful student would, in my mind, would be a student that has been able to identify something they're really passionate about, something they really want to pursue, and hopefully Burlington High School, not just the counseling department, but the school has provided an avenue for that student to pursue that passion and improve upon that.
So now you know who works for Burlington. We'll be back soon with another edition, so stay tuned.
The fall sports season is quickly drawing to a close. For the latest Red Devil news, we go to BNEWS sports reporter Liz Gillespie for this week's sports report.
Hey everyone, I'm Liz Gillespie for your weekly sports report. Burlington High School fall sports played a variety of games last weekend and during Veterans Day, so let's get to it. Red Devils soccer had a home meet against the Red Raiders at Marshall Simons Middle School Brush Field on Saturday, November 7th. Out of all 4 periods of the game, neither team scored points on offense, and the game ended in a tie. The team played the Red Raiders again on Veterans Day in Melrose, where they lost to a score of 1-0. The team drops to 2-4-1 and will play the Warriors on Saturday, November 14th in Wakefield. Lady Devil Soccer traveled to Melrose on Saturday to face the Red Raiders. The girls lost by a close score of 2-1 and dropped to 0-6-1 on the season. They were at home against Melrose on Veterans Day at Varsity Field, and we have some highlights from that game, so let's check those out.
The Burlington Lady Devils soccer team had a matchup against the Melrose Red Raiders on Veterans Day at BHS Varsity Field. Let's see some highlights. Both teams had multiple opportunities to score at the net. However, no one lost or won the game because it ended in a tie. 0-0 was the final.
Burlington drops to 0-6-2 and will play the Wakefield Warriors on Saturday at MSMS Brush Field. Girls varsity field hockey were also in Melrose on Saturday. Burlington lost to a shutout score of 5-0. The girls played the Red Raiders again on Veterans Day at Varsity Field, and we have some highlights, so let's check those out.
The Burlington Lady Devils field hockey team had a matchup against the Melrose Red Raiders on the Veterans Day holiday at BHS Varsity Field. Let's get to the action. In the first period, junior Jolene Russo went on a breakaway against a couple of Red Raiders defenders and scored for Burlington, 1-0. Melrose had their chance to tie up the game late in the first, 1-1. The Red Raiders scored 3 more goals, one in the second, third, and fourth. Your final, 4-1, Melrose.
The team drops to 2-6 on the season and will play the Wakefield Warriors on Saturday at Varsity Field. This game will be live streamed on the BCAT Facebook page. The boys and girls cross-country teams both had meets against the Red Raiders on Saturday, November 7th. First off, the Lady Devils had their meet at Melrose, where they lost. The girls dropped to 1-3 on the season and will have another meet on Saturday, November 14th against the Wakefield Warriors at BHS. While the girls were in Melrose, boys Red Devils cross-country faced the Red Raiders at Varsity Field. The team beat the Red Raiders in a 21-38 victory. Burlington continues its undefeated season at 4-0 and will be taking on the Wakefield Warriors on Saturday, November 14th in Wakefield. Don't forget to check out our new BNEWS Sports Hub Twitter page at BNEWS Sports. And for more Red Devil action, go to the BNEWS Sports Hub page at bcattv.org. And that's all for your weekly sports report. I'm Liz Gillespie, back to you guys in the studio.
We go now to BNews weatherman Peter Brown for the latest forecast to see what's in store for the week ahead. We'll also check out the community calendar with Chris Flaherty for a look at what's happening in Burlington.
Well, hello everyone. This is Peter Brown with a look at your weather for the next 7 days. I know it's hard to believe that we are into the heart of November, but on we go and towards the latter portions of the fall. Now, starting out our period on Friday, it looks like we're going to be seeing more like average conditions, certainly much different than the temperatures that we saw this past week that were up near 80 on a couple of days. Really incredible warmth that we had this past week, but looks like that is on its way out. Now, as we round out of the period, getting towards the end of that, look at that, November 19th, not too far away from Thanksgiving. Our average highs at this time of the year now should only be around 50, so pretty chilly. And that's pretty much where we're going to stay this week. Pretty average, maybe a little bit as we head towards the start of the work week, a little bit below average temperatures, only getting into the low 40s. So definitely a feel of late fall. And of course, as you notice, those sunsets keep getting earlier and earlier in the afternoon, but we're only about a month away until we start to add time again to the days. So that's something to look forward to. Now, as we go ahead, let's take a look at what the Climate Prediction Center is calling for us in terms of temperatures and precipitation for the next week or so. And again, nothing really out of the ordinary here. We're going to be expecting here in the Burlington area and most of New England about average temperatures, and that's where we'll be. As we look ahead at the precipitation chances, again, really nothing new, nothing out of the ordinary. Looks like we're going to see at or slightly below average precipitation. So it doesn't look like we're going to be getting to the very end of the drought yet, but things have definitely improved. Now, as we go ahead, let's take a look at that 7 days of weather we have coming up. Now, really nothing crazy going on. Again, starting at our period on Friday, going to be kind of cloudy out there, some showers as a cold front finishes passing through the area, and it's going to be pretty chilly and breezy again, only temperatures in the low 50s. As we get into the weekend, looks like the sun's going to break back out, but temperatures again, pretty chilly, but again, average for this time of the year, down in the low 50s, and pretty chilly if you're going out there at night, so we might be seeing some frost. Again, really that's nothing too strange to see after we had those incredibly cold temperatures back on Halloween. Now, as we go ahead, starting out a look at our work week, we're going to bring the chance of some showers back into the forecast by Monday, and again, temperatures holding about steady in the low to mid 50s before we get a real cool shot of air here on Tuesday and Wednesday with temperatures down in the low and mid 40s and those overnight lows down in the low to mid 20s. So definitely a early winter feel as we head in towards the middle of next week. As we round out the period again, getting towards the end on Thursday, back to fair conditions, back to normal for this time of the year, around 50. And again, those lows at night down in the low 30s where they should be. So everyone, looks like we have a pretty average week of weather coming up. Nothing too bone-chillingly cold, and unfortunately for those of us who like the summer weather, nothing really warm. So get out there, enjoy the weather, and have a great week.
Get ready to enjoy some Red Devil classics. Until Burlington football returns, we'll be showcasing some of the Red Devils' greatest hits from past seasons, featuring post-game analysis from former voice of the Red Devils, Phil Licaro. We have a full season of Red Devil classics coming your way, Look for new games weekly on BCAT's education channel.
Hey everyone, this is Chris Flaherty with your community calendar, filling in for Jolie Atwood, who is out this week. Learn about America's most beloved illustrator, Norman Rockwell. On Thursday, November 19th from 7 to 8:30 p.m., the Burlington Public Library is having a virtual event called Norman Rockwell in World War II with Jane O'Neill. Everyone is welcome to attend the Zoom call. Pre-registration is required. For more information, go to burlington.org or call 781-505-4985. Looking for a flu vaccine? The Burlington Board of Health still has flu vaccines available for children and adults by appointment only. Vaccinations will be given at 61 Center Street. Call the Board of Health at 781-270-1955 for an appointment. All flu vaccines are free, but if you have health insurance, please bring your information. You have a chance to win. Burlington's People Helping People is having their 10th annual raffle. Purchase a ticket to win a $1,000 gift certificate to the Capitol Grill. Tickets are $20 each, and the drawing will happen the first week of January. To get your raffle ticket, go to peoplehelpingpeopleinc.org. I'm Chris Flaherty, and this has been your Community Calendar.
Another week, another photo to highlight. This week, photos shows a mix of two seasons. It was sent in by Catherine Bond and shows the early snow we received covering the still brightly colored leaves in her yard. Now let's hope that we see early signs of winter this year. We'll also see early signs of spring next year, although we desperately need a heavy snowfall and a wet spring for our water supply. Thank you for the photo, Catherine. We'd like to see your photos. They could be of your fall activities, a family trip, or just everyday moments. Whatever you think is interesting and want to share with us and with the community at large. Email your photos to bcat@bcattv.org with the subject line Photo of the Week. Finally, this week, a small crowd gathered on Burlington Town Common on Wednesday morning to watch the town's Veteran Day flag-raising ceremony. We'll leave you with scenes from the ceremony, accompanied by the national anthem performed by Burlington High School members of the class of 2020. I'm Phil Gallagher with BNews Director Rich Hosford, BNews reporters Tad Stefanak, Robert Paris, Peter Brown with the weather, Chris Flaherty with the community calendar, and Liz Gillespie with sports. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the